In this demo, we are going to go over a little bit about SD geometry, and in the lecture, I do believe I mentioned whose SD geometry are we talking about. In this case, we're talking about ArcGIS Esri SD geometry. So one of the tools I'm going to use to take a look at it, we're not going to be in VS Code, we're not going to be in Pro, we're going to be off in a tool that knows how to talk to SQLite. And the idea is that you enable the SQLite database to basically look at the geometry. So from this third-party tool, I should all of a sudden be able to start interacting with the spatial data, right? If it works in that. Now, there's a few things I had to do: download and install it, which I've done. I've gotten the files. And the big file you're after is this ST Geometry SQLite DLL from Esri. I dropped it into the extension folder already. So your path, if you were to do this, might be different. And then there was, for this particular tool, a security setting, and the allow loading of extensions from SQL code. So that's not turned on by default in that. And so what I will do is I will pop this tool, and we'll just go over that, and then we'll run these functions if we have to. We could try running these, but this is what you would have to do to enable the functions typically in that. And so I'll just, for now we'll leave it, and I'll just get the browser up. So on my off window, I'm gonna pin it to my start actually. And so SQLite, well, DB browser for SQLite popped on the screen. Awesome. I'm going to go open up a database. So I'll open up a database and that. One thing I did is, I know in this course we tweak stuff a lot, but it's all about, getting your environment set up the way you want. So one thing is these are SQLite containers that I am familiar with. I might drag this over a bit if it will let me. Yes. So OGC Geo packages are SQLite containers 3, version 3. So are Esri mobile geodatabases. So I'll put that filter on in that. And I'm going to I'll back this up. This is the VS Code, and there's the database. So what did I do? I went to the Surrey Open Data Portal, downloaded their property package as a file geodatabase and then brought it into Pro quick. And then in Pro, I made a mobile geodatabase and just copied the layers over, right? Just so that we can say, okay, we have something in this mobile.geodatabase format. What is it? I'll open that up. I'll have to say yes. I haven't figured this out. I'll just go yes, and that sort of thing. So here under Edit Preferences, the tool might have remembered that I enabled this extension and to allow the SQL loading in that. So typically what you do is you get an SQL window, and I think I will bring VS Code forward but put it on my off screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy out this SQL, and then we'll load this one. But again, that's going to be off screen. And so this will dynamically load the DLL. And I think, well, no, technically, maybe the DLL is already technically loaded because I checked it on. But this SDE SQL functions and int has to run. And we'll do that. And it says it was happy. We'll see. And that, again, took a couple of tries to get everything configured the way I wanted. And so I'm going to put that in there. But I'm not going to run it yet because you might be going, what's going on? Which is fair. So let's go back to the database structure. And I might have mentioned in other courses with you about the geodatabase schema. So a mobile geodatabase very much has a geodatabase schema. You can see all these GDB tables with it. To me, when I look at this looks a lot like the personal geodatabase that used to be a Microsoft Access file. It had very similar tables. A lot of these are system tables, so typically if they start with GDB, they're all system tables, but this looks like it could have data in it in that. There's usually a table called layers in here. There it is, right? And we could actually browse this table, and this will tell you all of the ones. It's strange that GDB items is there, but that's okay. But this will be all the ones that are typically have like real data in them and that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to query the lots table in that. And so we can, over at SQL, we're going to select the parcel identifier, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take the parcel, run stcentroid on it, and then take that and convert that to well-known text. So we should just see like a point per parcel from lots, and I'm just going to knock out where if the PID is null in that. There were some parcels in there that don't have PIDs yet on the download. I'm not sure what that means because that's you'd have to talk to their team to get the details on that. So I'm just going to run it in that. And so that was on how many parcels? 181,000 parcels and change. And that it only took 451 milliseconds, half a second, to go through all the geometry and convert them into a centroid, and then convert those centroids into well-known text in that. So the question might be, well, how is it able to do that? Because it would need to know what the format is. Well, because Esri put the data in there, and that so they're following certain standards, but I'm pretty sure what it is, it's the eventual binary that it's going to hit. It won't be OGC well-known binary. It will be ArcSD compressed binary in that. And so that way, it's a technique they use to, I guess, use less space in that. So the SQLite database will be technically smaller than the OGC GeoPackage equivalent, because in the OGC package they're using a standard where it says the coordinates had to be stored, as doubles, so 8 bytes per coordinate, and that. They do a little bit of, we call it byte packing or data type packing, where they actually convert the decimal numbers to whole numbers and maintain an offset in that, like concepts like, do you want those numbers to 3 decimal places, 4 decimal places, or 5 decimal places? And that way they can save a lot of space in that. A little bit of details on what they're doing there and that. But here I am, I'm not in Pro. I am just in a tool that knows how to talk to SQLite. All it's doing is it's hooking into that DLL to run these SD Aztecs, SD Centroid. Those are the ones that know how to read what Esri has put into those columns in that. But I can talk to the database and that sort of thing. I could even get it to return it as binary too, right? Which would actually technically change it to OGC well-known binary. And this may not make any sense to us if I was to run this, right? If we just get a blob back, but that blob should follow the OGC standard of what was well-known binary, with the BOM byte order marker, with the geometry type, and then an X and a Y coordinate that we saw earlier in lecture in that. So, allows for some interoperability there. But this was just a little bit of a demo. It does take some setup, like I said, installing this particular software, getting the DLL into the right place, allowing it to be dynamically loaded, running that SQL that loads the extension, and then you can start querying, okay? In that, so you do have to get it in the right spot, right? It's easiest to put it in here because this is a place that this tool is aware of, so it always scans this directory for DLLs as extensions, and then loading it. Now this loads it dynamically. You might be able just to run this SD SQL functions and then to get started. I'll play around with that to see if you can get away with shortening this step if you've already placed it in this particular directory up here, extensions and that. But again, it's just showing you how, these formats and moving towards, cloud native formats, and what will the final choice be, who knows. But this does give you the ability to, hey, even though Pro put the data in there in SD compressed format, we can drop this DLL in and then basically write SQLs against the data and work with it. That's all for now.